It is time! It is finally time for another rescue dog. So for those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, I adopted Frodo here, who wants to go back home and get breakfast, in 2018 from a dog shelter in Romania. He was this absolutely terrified little thing. He had spent all of his life at the shelter. He was dumped there when he was a little puppy, and I got him when he was almost 3, so he spent quite a few years there. He was scared of everything, and I have worked a lot with him so that he can pretty social and stable dog. I've been taking him with me everywhere so he can get used to a lot of different things. I have been dreaming of getting a second dog. I have never previously had 2 dogs at once. Frodo also really likes other dogs, so I figured he would really enjoy a friend. And so when the time felt right, I had decided that I would get a second dog, and it would be a rescue dog. And that time is finally here. So I had pretty much made up my mind about adopting a second rescue dog, but even when you get a rescue dog, I think it's really important to have some requirements on what type of dog you're looking for, just based on like your lifestyle, how active you are, how advanced you are in dog training, how capable you are to sort of adjust your life according to what the dog needs, and so on and so forth. So just so you can give the dog you end up adopting the best life possible. So I also had some requirements set. Number 1 was some sort of shepherd type. I've just kind of come to the conclusion that shepherds are sort of my preferred dog type. Might change at some point, might not. So I didn't want a puppy, I wanted an adult dog, but a young dog, just so that I can have as much age difference between my 2 dogs as possible, because this usually makes it easier for them to get along. Third thing was I was looking for a medium-sized dog, so around 20 to 25 kilos, preferably a male dog. This is just a preference. I have just found that I prefer male dogs, but this wasn't like a set in stone thing. Shy or timid dogs for me was also okay. And then lastly, I would prefer that the dog likes other dogs and also just other animals in general. Now this is obviously really hard to determine on a shelter dog. It's never 100%, but preferably. So from the title of this video you probably already know where I ended up adopting my dog from, but I definitely had quite a bit of options when I started looking. So first I obviously started by keeping an eye on local shelters and Facebook groups with dogs that was looking for a new home. But a lot of dogs looking for a new home here in Finland, and especially shepherd dogs, are usually dogs that have some sort of problematic behavior already kind of ingrained in them. It can be a really hard thing to get rid of, sometimes impossible, and also a lot of the shepherds that were looking for a new home did not get along with other dogs or other animals, so that was obviously a deal breaker for me instantly. So all the while I kept looking through Facebook and kind of local shelters. I also started looking through rescue associations that are part of the Responsible Rescue Commitment. These Responsible Rescue Associations help connect homes in Finland with dogs in other European countries where there usually is a much bigger homeless dog problem. And so what the Responsible Rescue Commitment actually means is that these associations have committed to criteria such as responsible dog importation. So for example, regarding diseases, they are responsible, they make sure they have all of their vaccinations, they do a lot of testing on the dogs before they bring them to Finland, and they also commit to doing a lot of work locally where the homeless dog problem is. They usually collect a lot of money for the local veterinary stations to offer free spaying and neutering for dogs there. Usually these associations have specific dog shelters in these European countries that they work with, that they know are responsible as well, also work towards getting rid of the homeless dog problem. So these associations collaborate with shelters in, for example, Romania and Lithuania and Russia. Frodo, for example, was adopted through one of these associations from a dog shelter in Romania, so I already had a pretty good understanding of how they work, and also trusted them and felt that they were ethical in more than one way. So I kept scrolling through these associations' websites for the entire summer pretty much, but finally in the beginning of August I found him. And I knew instantly when I saw him that this was my dog. He was very similar to how Frodo was when I first got him, and he also checked off all of my requirements that I listed earlier. So the very next night I actually filled in the adoption form and sent it in. And about a week later I had my first interview with the association. They usually interview homes that are looking to adopt at least twice before they make the decision the dog and the home are compatible. And all of these people who are interviewing are obviously volunteers, so they do this in their spare time. And the volunteer I talked to definitely thought that my home would be a good fit for the dog I had chosen. So I had a few days to sort of think over everything and make sure I was very sure about the adoption and the dog, and obviously I was. So a couple of days later I sent her a text message saying that yes, I still feel like this would be a perfect match, and she thought so too. We were actually in luck because the dog could actually fit on the very next transport to Finland. So now it is time to pack a bag for the actual pickup. So first I packed some poop bags for accidents that most likely will happen, then an extra collar, and I also packed an extra harness. The good thing about this association in particular is that the adoption fee actually includes a collar and a harness that are already fitted to the dog, and then of course 2 leashes which you have to bring yourself. Of course, a water bowl and a big water bottle, some dog kibble, and lastly some chicken as an extra treat. And of course a big roll of paper for those accidents that most likely will happen. And then we were off to the Russian border. The dogs have about an hour truck ride to the border on Russia's side, but actually getting them into the country takes most of the day because they have to go through customs both on Russia's side and in Finland, and then also be seen by a vet at the Finnish border. One of the most common questions about rescue dogs is usually what we know about their past, and usually it's not a lot. So what we know about Koda was he lived with presumably his mom in the backyard of an alcoholic couple. And then the woman living there died, and the man was not interested or able to really take care of the dogs. And according to the neighbors, the mom dog ended up having more puppies, and the man drowned the puppies in a river. And that is when the neighbors stepped in and brought Koda and his mom to the shelter. And that is all we know. So we have now been home for 4 days, I think, and everything's honestly been going a lot more smoothly than I even expected. So I don't feel like showing my face on camera right now, but what I do want to show you is some of Koda's paperwork. So here's the stuff I got with him when I picked him up. Let's start with the paperwork. So here's everything he got tested for. He was called Mushu at the dog shelter, so that is why it's Mushu is written everywhere. Obviously in Russian, but here are everything he was tested for, and all the tests came back negative. And then they urged us to retest the Dirophilaria repens in about 6 to 7 months. Just some instructions for the first days at home. Vaccinations, microchip, a number, and date of birth. Obviously not, probably not completely correct, but estimated. And obviously because he came from Russia, he doesn't get a European Union passport, unlike Frodo, who has a passport, so I have to get that for him at his first vet checkup. But microchip information, rabies shots, and his other vaccinations. He also got treatment against ticks and fleas at the shelter right before he came here. And then also this, which I don't know how to pronounce in English, but Drontol Plus. And then there is just his examinations before leaving Russia by a vet, and I think that was it. And then we also got this little bag of stuff. So we have some probiotics, which he's been taking every day, and 2 different types of dewormers. So this one this is empty. He's already taking all of them, and now we need to continue with this one. And then he should be properly dewormed. And lastly, this shampoo, which I have already cleaned him with twice, so he should be nice and clean now, but I'll continue using this whenever he needs to get another bath. So, a nice package to get started with, and you'll see more of the dogs in my future videos. This was just mostly the adoption process, and I know that the adoption process of rescue dogs in Finland at least evokes a lot of debates and discussions, so if you do have any questions, I'd I wouldn't mind making a full like Q&A video where I just answer questions about rescue dogs. Otherwise, I will continue with more renovation and daily countryside life in my future videos, and I hope I will see you in my next one.